It's the two most magical words in sports. Game 7. The Orlando Magic are heading back to Cleveland with a humongous win over the Cavs. How they did it and why everybody in just fits so well. Let's celebrate a little bit on today's episode of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is May 4th, 2024. May the 4th be with you. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the site expert and I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic force a Game 7, defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers 103-96. How they overcame the clutch bug that bit them in Game 5, and why this is truly a win that befits their moniker for the playoffs, everybody in. Plus, the faith the Magic showed in Cole Anthony in the bench and how that was rewarded. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Hold up. We got to stop the show real fast. We got to reset things a little bit because we got to talk more about Monopoly Go. This fast-paced game lets you team up with friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Everywhere inside the Kia Center is the moniker for this playoffs. You know, it used to be Blue and White Ignite. You got them all throughout the league. The Orlando Magic's is everybody in. That's their mission. That's their advertising slogan for the playoffs. And, as far as they go, yeah, it feels a little generic, but it fits this team. It fits who this team is. It fits what this team is about. This team is about everybody. This team is about all these players contributing and being part of the whole. Yes, there are stars, and Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner were certainly stars. Jaylen Suggs adding a little bit of history as well. Yes, there are stars and players who carry a little bit more of a burden. But this is a team that has always been about the group. And so before we even get into how that played out in Game 6 and why Game 6 was so impressive, this is where everything starts. The Magic told us in the last 2 days as they prepared for this game that facing elimination, all they could do was be themselves. All they could do was embrace who they are. And if they're going to go down, they're going to go down as themselves, as the way that they are, as the team that they are. That's how this team is going to play. That's how this team is ultimately going to function. They're going to play the way that they play. And that is, as Jamal Mosley likes to put it, by committee. It's all these kind of fluffy terms. We know that this team is a team. We know how close this group is, how everybody plays a part and everybody plays a role and everybody adds something to the group or how close and tight-knit this group is. And we've seen it play out that way on the floor, but this is the playoffs. This is coming home, facing elimination, all the pressure on the Magic as much as anything else. And we'll talk a little bit more about the pressure on the Cavs here now. All the pressure on the Magic to save their season. I will admit, considering how young this team is, I was not sure that they would be able to get over it this time. But here's the thing. We know who this team is. We know that they may lose a game, but they are not going to quit. They're going to keep fighting. And that grit and that toughness and that determination is how they won 47 games. Yes, Paolo took a huge leap and Jaylen took a huge leap and Franz played pretty well. Yes, all that is true. And individual play and all that stuff is important. But this team's identity has always been about that grit and determination. This team's identity has always centered on never dying, being a thorn in everyone's side, in their opponent's side, being a team that sticks together even when the odds are stacked against them. That's who this team is. And we should not have expected any less in Game 6. With their backs against the wall, facing elimination, we should have guessed the Magic were going to show up and fight. Now, we didn't know what Cleveland was going to do. We didn't know if the shots were going to fall, but we knew this team was going to put in that effort. And we knew that everyone that was called on would do it, even if it wasn't perfect. And there's a lot that was imperfect about this game. Everyone was going to step in. And so when Cleveland came out in the third quarter, put on a 17-4 run, flipped a 6-point deficit into a 9-point lead, 19-4 run, whatever it was. That was the moment the Magic should have folded. That was the moment this game should have been over. That was the moment when you could feel the nervousness in the arena. But that's not who this Magic team is. They don't fold. And even though they lack experience, there's a poise, a calm and demeanor about them. Give Jamal, you could criticize Jamal Mosley for a lot of things, but give him this credit. He has this team believing in themselves. He has this team prepared and confident. He has this team understanding the moment and understanding how to be present in that moment. All this outside noise, it doesn't matter. And so the Magic etched away at that lead. They did not quit. If they had to climb uphill, they were going to climb uphill. Their season was not ending without a fight. And obviously, a close game at the very end, it came down to shot making. And yeah, Donovan Mitchell had 50 points in this game. We watched a 50-point game in Game 6. Donovan Mitchell's taken the mantle from Klay Thompson for best Game 6 performer. But Paolo Banchero had the answers. The Magic's defense had a lot of answers, even though Mitchell was scoring on them and keeping them in the game. Once Paolo Banchero hit that three that gave Orlando the lead, it was Orlando's game because they were not going to relent. They were going to attack the offensive glass and make those plays and make those 50-50 plays they missed in Game 5. They were going to go that extra mile. And frankly, I know the final score, 103-96, doesn't seem like it was that close of a game. It was a close game. Magic were up by 3 with 2 minutes to go before Cole Anthony came flying in for, frankly, a putback that I think we're going to remember for a very long time here in Orlando. That was a heck of a play. Cole Anthony made an all-time play there. And I love that he joked that he should have dunked the ball. The Magic made the plays. And at the end of the day, look, the result matters here. The Magic could have played great and lost, and we would have been proud and celebrate what they did this year. But we would have said, well, these were 2 games the Magic could have won. These are 2 games that the Magic could have had that would have sent them to the next round. They're agonizingly close, and they still will be. A Game 7 loss is the worst thing in the world. Because you know how close you are. You know what you fought to get here. But in this moment, when the Magic were down by 9 in that third quarter, the coaches weren't the ones lifting everybody up. The coaches weren't the ones bringing everyone back. It was the players. And that, to me, is the brilliance of what Jamal Mosley's done in Orlando, is he has gotten everybody to buy in. He's gotten everyone to take ownership of this project. So when they get to these playoff moments, they've been preparing for this for 3 years, for this exact moment. They solved the problem. They made the plays They had the calm and the poise and the collectiveness to score one of the biggest wins in Magic history. Certainly the biggest win since 2011. If not 2010. I'm willing to say 2010. This is one of the biggest wins in the last 15 seasons of Orlando Magic basketball. And that's an incredible statement to say. And it's because everybody played a role. Whether it was Paolo Banchero and his 27 points, whether it's Franz Wagner and his 26, or Jaylen Suggs and his 6 made three-pointers for 22 points, whether it was Markelle Fultz with 6 points off the bench or Cole Anthony with 9, whether it was that one block from Wendell Carter on Donovan Mitchell that sprung the Magic free for a fast break that gave them a little bit of breathing room, or that one miss, or that offensive rebound from Jonathan Isaac with 40 seconds left where he kicked back out and the Magic burned more clock. Everybody had their part. And that's what it takes to win in the playoffs. The Magic have told us all playoff long, everybody in. Game 6 was that notion, was that motto actualized and lived. And now we get to do it all again with everything on the line Sunday afternoon. One of the controversial things that Jamahl Mosley is doing is he's sticking to his bench lineup. Why the numbers back that up and how the bench delivered for the Orlando Magic in Game 6. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time to take a quick break and say a quick word from our friends over at Monopoly Go. So we're calling a timeout here. We're going to go to the monitor. We're going to check the tape, make sure that call was correct, because we got to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. We already talked about that. We can check the replay later if you'd like, but there's just so much good stuff in this game that we got to give it another minute. And Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming you get from the national networks. We're not going for the cheap hits. We're not going for the low-hanging fruit. This is analysis from experts who know their team best. If you want the real scoop on any team in the NBA, you check out the Locked On Sports Network. If you want the scoop on the biggest national stories, you tune into Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. That's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Orlando Magic have run a 10-man rotation all year. Orlando ended the season 4th in the league in bench scoring. They leaned very heavily on their bench all year long. It was one of their big superpowers was starters didn't get off to a great start. No worries. Bench had their back, came back in games, won them a few games. That's the truth of it. And that's something the Magic hope to carry over into the playoffs. And it's been a little inconsistent. The Magic messed with that rotation a little bit with Jonathan Isaac, and they did so again in Game 6, although I think it was ultimately the right call to do so. But the bench has been an important part of the team. And the Magic have run a 10-man rotation the entire year. Many of us expected that to change when we got to the playoffs. We expected a 9-man rotation. We expected limited minutes for some guys off the bench or very tight leashes. And I think we've seen some tight leashes on guys off the bench. But the Magic and Jamahl Mosley have stuck to a 10-man rotation the entire postseason. In fact, start of the second quarter, start of the fourth quarter, we saw a lineup that many fans dreaded, an all-bench lineup. Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, Joe Ingles, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner. And especially without Paolo and Franz on the floor, or one of those two on the floor, there was a lot of concern. Well, I have some good news for you. In the regular season, that lineup had a plus 4.3 net rating in 80 minutes across 13 games. So not terrible. It was actually a positive lineup. In the playoffs, at least entering Friday's game, the Magic had the highest scoring bench in the playoffs at 31.6 points per game. And that all bench lineup that everyone's been dreading, a plus 20 net rating, 110 over 90 offensive, defensive, just in 16 minutes. So it's a small sample size. That faith in the bench has been backed up by the numbers. And it was backed up again in Game 6. That bench group started the fourth quarter down by 5 points. In 2 minutes, they flipped it into a 1-point lead. And by then, again, short leash, the Magic brought Paolo and Franz back in. After 2 minutes on the bench, in game time, a little bit longer because of a review, the Magic were able to bring those guys back in, and they were able to win minutes even with Donovan Mitchell on the floor for the Cavs. In fact, in the end, especially with Gary Harris out, the Magic trying to scramble to fill minutes at the guard spot, the Magic's traditional guards or traditional backup guards were the ones who stood tall. They were the ones who made some big plays to keep the Magic in the game. Say what you want about the Magic's bench. They do not win this game without the contributions of Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz. And those are two players with extreme shortcomings. They're Cole Anthony's defense, he's being targeted. There's no doubt about it. He is someone that is seeing a lot of pick and rolls run at him. They're trying to get switches on him. That's been that way since game 1. His offense has been poor. And he said, he has been struggling. He's felt like he's lost the trust of the coaching staff. And he's had a quick hook. There's no doubt about that. But the Magic kept the faith. And when the time came, Cole Anthony stepped up. Whether that was the wild scooping layup that he made early in the fourth quarter that just completely energized the crowd. It was just such a huge play. Or making that putback with 2 minutes to go. To me, that was the play of the game. Franz Wagner said it after the game. Cole Anthony won us this game. And if you looked at the numbers entering the game, and certainly even if you looked at his numbers during this game, you would ask yourself, why is that faith rewarded? Like, why have faith in him at that point? This was a huge gamble from Jamal Mosley. I'm not going to deny that. This was a huge gamble. Jonathan Isaac at guard was not really working. He was struggling to defend Donovan Mitchell, keep him in front of him. Everyone was. He was struggling with Darius Garland too. Jonathan Isaac just didn't quite fit as a primary perimeter stopper against smaller, quicker guards. It's crazy to say. We rarely say anything bad about Jonathan Isaac defensively. We had to do that twice in this series. And the Magic didn't have many options. I know a lot of people are calling for Anthony Black, but I love AB. I think he's still going to be a very, very good player. He ain't ready for the playoffs. He hasn't played in the playoffs at this point. He hasn't played meaningful minutes now for a month and a half, 2 months. Not an option. So those options look very limited. And the Magic turned to Cole Anthony, and he delivered. I was waiting for them to bring Markelle Fultz back in because Markelle also played really well. I think his defense needed some work too, but 6 points on 3 for 6 shooting. He found that he just got to his spots and made things happen. It was impressive. But everyone on that bench knows their role. Everyone coming off the bench knows what they have to do and work really well together. And obviously now we're hitting a point in the season where benches don't matter as much. Orlando only got 17 points off their bench. It still outscored the 10 that Cleveland got. This was a game about the starters, and game 7 is going to be the same. Paolo played nearly 42 minutes. Franz played nearly 42 minutes. Game 7 is going to be all about the starters, and whatever you get from the bench is going to be a bonus. Well, guess what? The Magic have the advantage on that. They've always had the advantage on that. And, we talk about everybody in this is what we need. No matter how many points you score, no matter what you have to do, make an impact on the game, make a positive impact on the game. And really, for the most part, you can say that about every Magic reserve and every Magic bench player. You can say that about that bench group. They know how to play together. They know how to get the job done. And they played exceptionally well to put the Magic in a position to win this game. And really, again, Cole Anthony made the huge plays. So yes, do the Magic need to tighten their rotation? They've already started to. Do they need to adjust some lineups and make sure that some of their better players are in? Absolutely. But Jamal Mosley trusts this bench group. He trusts that bench lineup, and they have come through for him again. They came through on Friday night in Game 6, and believe him, they will go to it again in Game 7. We'll go through the final box score, talk about the stars of the game, the history that the Magic made, and a whole lot more as we get ready for Game 7 now. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With more than 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Let's run through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers 103-96. Series is tied at 3. Two most magical words in sports. Game 7 is Sunday at 1 p.m. That game will air on ABC and ABC alone. Thank you to our friends at Bally Sports Florida for another fantastic season. Love the work that they did on Bally Sports throughout the year, giving us this, pun intended, magical season. We'll have plenty of time to deconstruct the season hopefully in 2 more weeks, because we want another long series with Boston here. But first things first, we got to take care of business on the road. Look, this was a game about stars. Donovan Mitchell at 50, Darius Garland at 21, really got to wherever he wanted on the floor for a good chunk of the game. The Magic really struggled defensively. As much as I think we should celebrate this win and celebrate what the Magic accomplished and celebrate the shot making that they had, this game was a game the Magic by all rights should have lost. They got outscored in the paint 66-38. They couldn't stop Donovan Mitchell. He was 50 points, 22 for 36 shooting. They couldn't stop Darius Garland, who had 21 points on 10 for 17 shooting. They had only 11 fast break points. Cleveland had 13 fast break points, so they won that. That's only the second time this series that the team that won fast break points lost. The Magic shot only 39.3% from the floor. Cleveland shot 48.8%. The difference, for a change, was not only did the Magic get to the line a ton. Cleveland was 5 for 10 from the foul line. Orlando 22 for 26. They made threes, 11 for 36, including 7 in the first half. When you make threes and get to the foul line, when you make more threes than the other team, Cleveland only had 7. They were 7 for 28. When you make more threes than the other team and you get to the foul line more, the Magic are going to win. That's a good formula for a win. This game, though, came down to shot making. And look, watching Paolo, Banchero, and Donovan Mitchell go shot for shot through the last 3-4 minutes of this game was both nerve-wracking and exhilarating. Because it means the Magic have a star that can go shot for shot with another star. And look, Donovan Mitchell he had some tough one. I thought he got into the lane way too easy, and the Magic's defense needed to be a little bit more disruptive, a little bit more willing to commit to doubling him. But he also hit some really tough floaters and layups and shots and made some really tough moves to get by the Magic defenders. Donovan Mitchell was doing everything he could to win this game. Again, 50 points. He was playing on one leg for a good chunk of this game, and it was clear. And, that's going to be a big part of that's a big part of the storyline for the Cavs this season anyway. That's going to be a big part of the storyline as we get to game 7. It's going to play a part here. Having said that, Paolo Banchero was up to the task. Slow start for him, but he scores 27 points, 9 for 20 shooting, 7 for 10 from the foul line, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, only 3 turnovers, which in this series is good for him. Look, Paolo is getting really comfortable with that mid-range jumper. He told us before the game at shoot-around on Friday that he really enjoys the pace of play in the playoffs. Like, he really enjoys how slow it is, how methodical it is. He's getting to his spots. He's hitting these tough mid-range jumpers. He's doing so many things that, I mean, he looks like a star. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, this is what a star does. Everyone on the team knows it. I don't know if Paolo quite understands it, but this is what star players do. And the Magic have a star, and that's why they're in this series. Because, Donovan Mitchell's probably the best player in the series. Paolo, the question I think on that ranking scale is whether Jared Allen would be the second best. And obviously, Jared Allen didn't play in game 6. We'll see what his status will be for game 7. I would bet that he will play in game 7. But Paolo is probably the second best player in this series. And that's obviously given the Magic a chance to win. 27 points, just got to his spots, made some tough jumpers. When he missed a few jumpers, he attacked the basket. His 3-point shooting looks just so much more confident. Like, this is a guy who's elevated his game, and it's been really impressive to watch in his first playoff outing. Franz Wagner also responded. Didn't have a great game in game 5. Responded with a bunch of points early. I think he had 18 in the first half. Ends up with 26, 7 for 16 shooting, 11 for 11 from the foul line. So I love that he gets to the foul line. That's a good sign for him. 5 rebounds. Franz just doing Franz things. Like, getting to the basket, finishing around the rim, forcing contact. Like, he just did he was unafraid to challenge Evan Mobley, unafraid to go to the basket, just kept ducking his head and going. And that's what Franz does. And so seeing him he hit 1 3, he was 1 for 5 from 3. So the 3-pointer is still the big thing with him, but like, he can score. Like, that guy is a scorer. That guy is a bucket. And he's proven to be a really tough matchup for Cleveland for a good chunk of this series. I know I said this way back at the beginning of the series. So much of this series is going to turn on who can the Magic force Evan Mobley to defend, because you could go at the guy, the Magic have not been afraid to go after Evan Mobley, but having Paolo attack Max Strus or Marcus Morris Sr., a lot better than attacking Evan Mobley. And again, that's what Jared Allen's absence has done. I don't think that's a coincidence that Paolo's having bigger games. Franz has been willing to attack Mobley too. Again, just they've tended to put Mobley on Franz. He's played more on Paolo after Paolo got going, and then got Franz found his gap. Just a really impressive game. Like I said, a little bit of history made tonight. Jaylen Suggs, 22 points, 7 for 16 shooting, 6 for 13 from beyond the arc. 6 rebounds, 4 assists for him. Did have 4 turnovers. Orlando with 14 turnovers for 12 points. Game 5, they had 14 turnovers for 17 points. Cleveland, 15 turnovers for 18 points. So you can see some of the differences there. Jaylen Suggs was just on one. He was confident shooting and taking his threes. And, I did the numbers. I think he's made only 1 3-pointer at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in this series. He's shooting like 50% from 3 at home. Like, that dude just shoots a ton at home. And if he can even shoot 1 of 3, 2 of 6 from 3 in game 7, the Magic have a real good chance to win. They need him as a 3-point threat, and that's what he was. So here's the bit of history. The Orlando Magic are the 3rd team in NBA playoff history to have 3 players under the age of 23 each score 20 points. The only other team that did that was the Oklahoma City Thunder with the James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook trio, and then again with the Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka trio, Magic legend Serge Ibaka. That's pretty impressive, that a team this young is playing like that in this big of a game. Like, honestly, like, I want to go back to this point. There's not a whole lot more to go over in the box score, but I want to go back to this point. This is where I thought the Magic were going to kind of back down. Like, it's, again, this team has shown us their fight. They've shown us their grit. They've shown us their toughness throughout the course of the year. But I really felt like this is, we're getting to the moment where this team's going to back down, where that just the, the rope snaps and you just fall down the hill. It happens at the end of every playoff series. It feels like, just watch the Mavericks Clippers series. You get to a point where the will just isn't there and you just become desperate. And that point never came for Orlando. Like, again, they made a lot of mistakes in this game. 48.8% shooting. Cleveland got where they wanted. They got quality looks. They got good shots. The Magic didn't foul. That was a huge factor in this game. But, other than that, like, Cleveland was coming along really, really well. Jonathan Isaac failed to score. He was 0 for 5 from the floor. He had 9 rebounds, which was big, but he looked lost defensively for the first time in his life. Really struggled getting around screens with Donovan Mitchell. You can see why Jamal Mosley didn't want to put Jaylen Suggs on him, because he wanted him to be a little bit more of a free safety, play a more traditional point guard in Darius Garland instead of a live wire like Donovan Mitchell. Gary Harris, the Magic missed Gary Harris in this game because, Isaac really struggled on defense. But none of that mattered. Like, the Magic overcame all of that. Like, this, honestly, like, this is one of the most impressive wins I have seen from the Magic, like, period. Like, this is 1995 versus the Bulls game 6 stuff, where it's just like, oh, this team gets it. This isn't just a good team riding on talent. This is a team that gets it, that has grit and determination, that isn't going to give up on a game, that has a will to win. And I'm not sitting here saying Cleveland doesn't. Our friend Chris Manning might, but the Magic have it. Like, you can see it. Like, this is a game where you have it. Like, regardless of what happens Sunday, this is a game we're going to talk about as a key part of this team story, of this group story. This was impressive. Like, this was an impressive win. And my only fear is I felt like the Magic were kind of basking in their glory a little bit. We're just kind of enjoying the moment and the emotions of winning this game on their home floor and the energy of that crowd just a little too much as we get ready for game 7. But honestly, like, enjoy this moment. Like, it's rare as a playoff team that you win your last home game like this. And if this is the lasting memory that the Kia Center crowd has of their Magic team, this is the perfect way to remember them. Hopefully we get a game next Saturday on ABC against Boston, but this was about as impressive a win as you get. I am so immensely proud of this team and so happy for this team for what they did on the floor Friday, because that was, that was a grown man win. Like, these aren't kids anymore. That was a grown man win, a gut check win. Had to, blew a lead, had to fight back, had to go toe-to-toe with a 50-point score, and they came out on top. Like, unbelievable effort, unbelievable game from Orlando, and you get to do it all again Sunday. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Locked On Magic, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, search your tune in Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them listen to podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And of course, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, for even more Orlando Magic content. You can find that at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Day 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We will be back Sunday evening to recap the Orlando Magic's Game 7 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hopefully not before I have to take a flight to Boston. Hopefully before I have to take a flight to Boston, but not on that day. I'm planning to fly Monday, but that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll catch you all again for another episode of Locked On Magic.